You have it in the front? Perfect. I just want to welcome everybody to Clippers and Cops. We are back in action. Give yourself a round of applause. Yes, sir. Some of y'all hands still cold. It's all good. All right, I go by the name of Reese. I'll be the moderator for the day. First of all, foremost, you cannot have change without action. This is the action that's going to create more change. We've been having these conversations for going on over 36 months, 4 years now, according to my brother Tyrone Dickens, man. A former APD officer. We have a lot of officers in the building. We got Clippers over here. We got cops in the building. And we also, this is why I love my city, we also got a man named Dre in the building. No. When I say we got a man named Dre in the building, y'all got to make some noise. We got a man named Dre in the building. I love it. He actually participated at an event at this location before he came in, before those votes came in, and he said what he was going to do. Now he's doing what he said, and he got my vote, man. We appreciate you just being who you are, being a stand-up guy. We don't anticipate perfection. We just know you're a man of action. You're a man of substance, so we appreciate you, bro. We're going to tell you that right there.
I'm going to cut out early.
And two of them is out there voting you. So, you know what I'm saying?
I don't know how long we're going to be. I'm going to cut out.
How this is going to work, if you have something you want to bring up, you have something close to the heart that you want to say, you are more than welcome to bring it up. But we all going to raise hands like we're in 5th grade, all right? And just act like I'm the teacher you actually like it. Because I will be calling on different people. We also have topics and things that we want to talk about that we kind of want to run through and have a list of those things that our panel put together last night for you guys, and different things that's happening with current events. We're going to go through those as well. We also have some very special guests in the building. We got captains, we got lieutenants, we got folks, all types of badges and stripes going on. I saw you back there creep in. Won't say nothing. So we have some people of prominence that we need to make sure we acknowledge too and come up to this microphone and say what they want to say. But it's great to see people of the community as well as people that represent law enforcement, so we can have these tough conversations and have these open and honest conversations, so we can get some answers and we can also get some understanding between both sides, because there will be no progression without understanding. And we all agree on that. Right. Absolutely. If you're feeling like, a little froggish, you want to leave, just understand, you will be locked up. I'm just playing. But just make sure that we keep this whole conversation respectable for both sides. If you don't agree with somebody, it's cool. It's okay to disagree, but we're going to have the conversation respectful as possible. Also, if I cut you off, it's not to be rude, it's because we're on a time restriction and we need to keep this thing going. Without further ado, I want to bring the founder up, the man, the myth. Oh, you did already cut.
I tried to get a quick line up there.
What you thought was going to happen? Y'all make some noise for my brother Tyrone Dennis in the building.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. I'm glad we finally was able to get back in person. We're trying to coexist with COVID and keep Clippers and Cops going. We're trying to keep going on the line through Zoom, but in person is where it's at. The whole goal and the reason I created the program and I do it with my brothers is to try to bridge the gap and create empathy. Everybody got so much to say on how we should fix these problems, but I'm a doer. I'm from the show, mistake, and jewelry, and we show, we don't just talk. And so that's why we're all here. We've been doing this since March of 2018, and we're going to continue to do this. The whole goal is just trying to do something different. We can't continue to do the same stuff and expect a different result. And so that's why we're here. I want to thank everybody that came. Mayor Dickens is a friend of mine. Chief Bryant is a friend of mine. Mayor Dickens came when he was just a councilman and he said he was coming back. Chief Bryant always comes, and everybody else, that somebody please identify yourself. We don't want to leave nobody out. I'm happy that you're here. Reese is going to control the mic, and let's go.
And for those with COVID concerns, the CDC said as long as you're talking about change, you're all right. All right, let's go ahead and get into it, man. Our first question of the day. Let me get to the question. Let me see.
We got an internet connection.
Tell me about it. All right, right now, first and foremost, let's talk about something that's been a hot topic in the news. We want to get both perspectives from the officers and from the public, because it's been a concern, especially for myself, because I have teenage daughters, gun violence. Right, gun violence and the recent news of a lot. Y'all all right right now? I said gun violence, they'll start popping off. All right, we're going to talk about gun violence. It's definitely a growing concern within the community, and some things that have been happening lately. Because any of you who've been affected by it may have a question about it. Maybe you want to ask the police what are things that have been done about it or stuff like that. Or policy that's going on. If you have a question, anybody feel free to raise your hand. If not, we're going to roll to the next question. I don't like it, first of all. I don't like it myself. You want to say something about gun violence? You got one question number 3.
I go first, what you want?
No, the first question was about gun violence?
Well, first and foremost, we got to be more cognitive of what we're doing with our weapons for those who carry. When we store our guns in our car, we got to make sure that they're being put away because a lot of the gun violence comes from stolen weapons. Secondly, we got to come up with some type of conflict resolution for our young people to be able to resolve their issues without shooting. We see the videos of the different incidents that's happening that's mixed with alcohol and weapons, and it's not a good mix. And so we have to come up with different programs or something to try to reach these young people to talk to them about it. You can't just sit there and say, don't do that. Well, in this day and age, people don't fight. They quick to run and get it done. So we have to come up with ways to try to
Appreciate that input on that. That's definitely a key. Yes, sir. You got your hand up. Oh, you okay? You hold the mic. No, y'all. Mayor the Chief. Yes. I'm on the leash, but I don't want you to have to yell, man. You gotta say their voice and we'll pass on the law.
So, one of the biggest concerns I have is how people are not able to de-escalate issues and to resolve conflicts without using a gun. I mean, folks are going to the finality of any argument. Like the end of the argument is to end you, to end your life. It's not to go see about it tomorrow. It's not to deal with it another day. It's not to scrap it out. It's not to say, chill on that. It's literally to go to the finality of a situation. I'm going to kill you. That is not how we should see this behavior cast forward. And when I think about it, we also have a whole lot of innocent bystanders that have been shot recently. So the intent is targeted. Is it or it's not it, but there's somebody else that is it that had nothing to do with the altercation. So individuals that have a disagreement, whether they're at a bar or club or restaurant, or even sometimes the people going out, they're carrying it out to the full out extent. And so we need to help people learn how to de-escalate situations, live to see another day. And what we're finding, Chief was talking, is we're finding that the person that's dead also had a gun. So the person that shot was thinking, I gotta shoot you before you shoot me, because so many people have guns right now. And as you mentioned, Ty, they're finding these guns under the seats of folks' cars and their glove box. Guns are just too available. And so whether they're choosing to do this as a means of drug transaction or something else, but a lot of times I'm seeing these things happen because people just don't know how to settle a dispute without going to a gun, without pulling out a knife. You had a woman kill her lover with a knife, had another person kill her brother with a knife. So we got gun violence, but we also got stabbing. And then you saw that at Westlake High School, Bannock High School, in Fulton. So anyway, we really, really all ought to be communicating that gun violence is a disease. It's a public health emergency right now. We're losing too many people due to it. And unfortunately, innocent bystanders are also the ones that's being killed. So we're gonna make sure we hear from you about what you think about it.
No, I think the mayor's absolutely right, and I'd like to hear that he thinks it's an emergency that needs to be addressed. There's many things that we've seen play out this week as it relates to what's happening in Atlanta. 26%, currently, 26% of the gun violence we're seeing is due to people lacking conflict resolution. It's an escalating argument that turned into gun violence. Not drugs, not domestic violence, just a matter of people who just had a conflict and it turned into gunplay. But the mayor also said that people go into finalities. The incident that occurred, I really don't even talk about the incident that occurred with our 6-month-old. What I will talk about is when he brought up the school, Banneker High School. Now, as I listened to it on the news, and it talked about another student stabbed another student. And the response was, we want more police officers in our schools to protect our kids from our kids. There's something wrong with that solution. There's something significantly wrong with that solution. So it is my belief that it is things like this where we have the community come together and have conversations on solutions. Okay. The police department have been locking up people for, Atlanta Police Department, for over 140 years. We know that's not the solution because we see recidivism continuously. Many of the people that the mayor talked about that we found with guns shouldn't have had them in the first place. That's a problem. So we have to come up with better ways to close those gaps that we are seeing in our criminal justice system. Because if we don't, if we continue to just use the police, if we just use our criminal justice system to deal with people who are having anger issues, turning into this violence, we're going to be here again having these very same conversations.
I have a question or a follow-up to what you said. So, if we're talking about the same things that we've been talking about since NWA, since Boys and all these things, this is not nothing new. So the problem has to go back to our home, right? What we're learning, this is how we behavior is being taught from early on. When our parents argue, they go to fighting, they go to throwing things, they go to, whatever that violence is that they take to the school, that they take to the street. How are we going to implement change in people's homes that we have no control over in order to get the change that we're talking about that shows the communication or level of communication on the street? Because that's where it starts.
Listen, I think that's a great question. One of the things I thought the mayor, when he gave his interview the other day, he talked about adding another leg to the stool. And that was bringing in nonprofits to have conversations. Because right now people rely on government and the police department to fix this problem. But when you bring in nonprofits who can teach de-escalation to some of our more troubled communities, I think that helps.
Yeah, absolutely. I brought together about 80 nonprofits 2 weeks ago. They are all nonprofits that look over young men of color. And I want 80 more. I grabbed the 80 that I knew and told, but there may be more. If you have a nonprofit or a church or some sort of agency that really focuses on young men of color, whether that's middle school, high school, or just out, I want you to go to atlstrong.org/YMOC. That's Young Men of Color. atlstrong.org/YMOC. Sign up your nonprofit. We're going to start giving away micro grants. We're going to start having opportunities for you to use the rec centers as a resource for some of your activities, other spaces that you can do some of your mentoring and training. But the point is, as wonderful as it is to have police, a chief, and deputies and everybody else trying to work on the problem of gun violence, it really starts at home and in the community. And so we have to have all of the tools in the toolkit. That means your YMCAs, boys clubs, big brothers, big sisters, the church, the mosque, the temple, and smaller nonprofits. There are some folks that are just the big brother or the uncle to guys in the neighborhood. If they can hold them together long enough and be able to help them get to a training program, they don't lose them boys. Them boys still their boys, but they go over to this training program and learn how to code, or learn how to, drive a forklift, or learn how to be a firefighter or a police officer, or whatever. I think we're going to have to help young people get to their rightful place in society, which is to thrive. Because if they find themselves in despair,
or hopelessness, where all they seen is multi-generational poverty, and all they seen is their dad or uncle or big brother get into these type of scenarios, then they are gonna continue to think that they don't have another option. And so what we have to do is get the nonprofits, get the clergy, get the agencies to help foster and mentor them, and also train them so that they can get 60, 70, 80, $100,000 jobs, because they want the same stuff. They want what we want. They want to look as good as you and have drive what you drive and look how you look. But they're going about it the wrong way at times. And I'm not just talking about, a situation that we haven't known for years. But what we have right now is the disparity between the haves and have-nots has gotten so far out of whack that people they don't even see themselves in this ecosystem. So we have to thrive and help them thrive. And so that's why I believe nonprofits and clergy and others and good parents. Let's not forget good parents. Being on top of the game with your kids, looking for signs of gang activity, and being able to say, hey, the police often say, if you see something, say something. It's not just a slogan. If you see this little joker doing this or that, you need to come tell us, so that we can give him the help, the intervention, etc. Because it's better to get them on the right pathway than to conceal it, and then next thing you know, they're out on the street doing something nobody wants. So good parenting, we need parent universities, we need some mentorship for parents. If you're working 3 jobs, it's hard to raise a young man or a young woman. So I think, because, by the way, and I know I'm talking a lot on it, the person that shot the 6-month-old, guess who the driver was? A woman. The woman was driving while he busting out the window. So it ain't just young men either. It's young women that's all a part of it.
We appreciate that. We'll come to you next week. You have your hand up.
Yes, sir. My name is Brother Mason X. Of course, I'm with the nation, so we do conflict resolution. A brother of mine, a dear brother of mine, his name was Assad. He was killed. It's been a year. It was August 6th. What the family has done is they created a nonprofit. It's called the Assad God Foundation. And what we've been doing is we've been going into the community, feeding people, doing the things that we need to do to bring communities together. So we would love to get that kind of support. Brother C. Joe Muhammad, you might know him. His name is C. Joe Muhammad. He's known for martial arts. We train under him. On Sundays, we do free training. So it helps women, children, kind of, if you know how to defend yourself, it's a discipline that you develop, and with that discipline, you can de-escalate, because if you understand your power, you don't always have to display your power. It's when you don't understand your power and you feel as though you have to make somebody understand who you are. When you stand in your power, you understand who you are, and you understand that you are the temple, it changes the demographics. So that's one thing that I would state that we need to do, and I'd be interested in getting that information. Thank you.
No problem. I think that you made a great point, and you followed up on that point. When you have a lack of opportunities, you'll take any opportunity you can. And also, you start to value what life really is. So you get a lot of people willing to end lives, like you both of y'all said, because you don't really understand the value of your life. You don't feel like you don't have that hope. You got a low ceiling. It's like, okay, that's nothing to me to go to jail. There's nothing to me to pull the trigger. So it has to start somewhere. With implementing nonprofits, it has to start at home with the parents. There are tons of different resources, and to have these open conversations like this, we need to keep getting all of this information out, all of these websites out. If you know a nonprofit, you know somebody that can help, you know a mentorship program, we need to do that too.
Can I say one more thing?
Quickly.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
To pull a trigger is the easiest thing to do. To have dialogue with somebody and de-escalate something, that's the manhood move.
Absolutely. That's what we're talking about right now. So, yes, sir.
Yeah, so my name is Devin. I want to know about the restaurant here in Atlanta. I'm from North Philadelphia, so I'm happy to be here with my friend. But you know, it's so crazy. I got friends that just recently getting out of jail from selling drugs for a lot of all their life, just getting out of jail. And one of the problems that, and I talk to them on a daily basis, is that they can't find jobs with having felonies. and they don't have violent crime, they're just selling drugs, right? So they can't find jobs. And so we have conversations like, what am I supposed to do? So they find themselves roaming the neighborhoods, can't get employment, or they get employment, they have to do so, you know, from a drug dealer standpoint, I'm just talking about what they tell me, is that you used to making all this money selling drugs your whole life, right? Because you grew up in poverty. When you get out of jail, you can't find a job because of you having a felony, having on your record, and then they expect you to work at like McDonald's or throwing trash, wherever it is, for low wages. And it's hard for them to kind of mentally just become successful, like they're successful when you go from making whatever amount of money to not having education or even having an opportunity to find a better position. So I think that's one of the main problems that the society has to fix. Like, how do you totally rehabilitate somebody who gets out of jail and there's not really true job opportunities? And I think you mentioned it, just touching on it, like the gap is getting so large. But when you're young, you get locked in at 17, you get out at 23. What are you supposed to do? And I don't think we address it as a community. Like, what are you supposed to do? Because almost like we shun them. Like, you're a drug dealer. And now, even though they're intelligent, he's just out here. And that's why they end up going, I think they make them do crime, not make them do it. I hate to say that, but they end up going back to selling drugs. They end up doing violent crime because not, having, when I had a friend who came home from doing 10 years, he was like, I've been locked up since 85. I am lost. I don't even know what to do in the world. He's calling me like, what am I supposed to do? My mom called me like, he's standing on the corner as if it's like 1997. He's standing on the corner every day. And it's like, and I felt so bad because I don't know how to save him. I'm like, what do you tell him?
But see, that's when we all gotta try to group and find those resources. Because there are, it's our resources people to not go back and do it. Like, it's nonprofits that's focused on that. And when you build those communities like the mayor's doing, where you have a web of different people, you have a web of what? Resources. So even like this, you having this conversation, you having that problem, right? But before the day, did you hear about that website? No, never. But now you know. And now you can pitch it to somebody else. Right. I got Mike and then I got Ray.
Yeah, I'll just say one thing. I mean, obviously working with public cops and being a local reporter, we go into these communities every single day and we're talking to these kids. And I think two of the biggest issues right now is we're all talking about these resources, but for some reason the messaging is not getting to them. And I think the big reason is these kids live on social media. So if you're a nonprofit, you don't have a website, you don't have a presence on Instagram, you don't have a presence on Facebook, these kids are not seeing that. And I think when you talk to a lot of these kids, you find out, I remember we had an event right before the pandemic, this one kid was so into photography. And so we met him in South Atlanta and we said, hey, come to our event tonight. He's putting pictures up on Instagram. So I think a lot of these kids, when we talk to them, they have an interest, they have a passion, they just don't have a direction. And so I think as a community, whether you're a business owner, a teacher, a parent, I think we have to all work together and find out how to get that message into the community. Because a lot of these kids believe everything they just see on social media. And that's where I think phrasing the whole thing with the relationship between the police and the public, because they see one event and they paint with a broad brush, and that's obviously not the case. And the other thing is, I think another big problem is just in general transportation. A lot of these kids, like, look, they got single mother at home, she's working 3 jobs, trying to put food on the table, they don't have a ride. And so instead they're just going to be playing in the street hanging out. And so I know there are nonprofits that offer transportation, but I think we're in one of the most vibrant, diverse cities in America right now. There's so much good business here. I think there's an opportunity to get more than just police and community, but these big Fortune 500 companies to get on board and really take action and put our money where our mouth is.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike. We got a question back here, and I got you back. And then we're gonna move to the next segment.
My name is Jonathan Mascoy. I'm a former faculty. Appreciate you for being out here. I grew up here in Gwinnett County. I live right around the corner, and I live in a plush house. And I didn't grow up like that, So I kind of understand what everybody is saying. And for me, it really starts with the curriculum inside of the household. How do we educate the parents? How do we bring together them and their kids and educate them together? This is my first time hearing about the website. Hopefully some of those nonprofits, they have some type of software that can allow the parent and child to engage together to learn a curriculum and conflict resolution. Because I think if we do that and appear cohesively, then we're actually knocking out 2 stones with 1 bird, So I think that, this is a beautiful city, and there's tons of violence here, there's tons of opportunity. We also need to be preaching entrepreneurship. You know, even for some of these guys that get out of prison and jail also have friends. I mean, dude, they've been locked up. I'm in my early 30s. They've been locked up like 12 years, on and off. You know, and I talk to friends the same way. And I think entrepreneurship, and right now where we are in the world of technology, I think we need to be pushing that, especially for our young black boys who can make their own lane, their own name, teaching them about the EIN, teaching them about taxes, teaching them how to get out here and get a bank loan, what it looks like to create a business plan. I don't think those type of things in that curriculum is really being pushed. It's just like, okay, well, you got to do this, conflict resolution. A lot of these kids, when I was their age, I couldn't see past Monday. You know, whatever day I was in, that's what day I was looking to get the most out of the world. If tomorrow came and I was alive, then, you know, I start over from scratch. You know?
Yeah. Reese, I wanted to share something. Back in the 80s, a lot of young black folks went to college after seeing a different world. Remember watching A Different World? Some of y'all too young, I can tell y'all came along with Fresh Prince and all that, you know. But when a lot of folks decided to go to HBCU or go to college, once they saw college on TV, you know what we see right now on the thing that they watch every day, Instagram? They see people
Foolishness.
They see people fighting. They see folks throwing drinks on each other, and then they see folks getting shot. They see folks trying to come up on some scams and schemes. So what you see a lot of times is who you want to be. And what we have to do is provide them additional images. Everybody in here looks great. You look like your life is going well, right? Y'all look like somebody should want to be like you.
That's a reflection of leadership.
That's a reflection of leadership. but somebody will say, so Reese, how did you get that way? You fresh, you got on cool shoes, you look cool, you this and that. Versus what they see is, hey, to get to this lifestyle, I gotta do this, hook a crook, scheme, scam. And so I'm just, advocating for us to join, go to these nonprofits, atlstrong.org/YMOC, but also find individuals that can continue to promote the positive, the good look. There are dudes that drive, truck drivers, making $250,000 a year, or more. There are entrepreneurs that are doing, $500,000 or $250,000 or $100,000, and they ain't in the game. They ain't selling dope. They ain't, you know what I mean? So putting the positive out there so that we can show people a pathway. Otherwise, they'll just go with what's easy to see, on the screen. That Instagram is a fool.
And to your point, like this morning I interviewed a brother who helped a kid that was 13 years old make $101,000 just this year alone on marketing. And he helped about 5 other people. I think the total work was like $490 million within 8 months. And this guy is 34 years old, and it's all legal things that he is doing. So it's opportunities out here. So this is what we can all do based on what some of the things you guys are saying. Everybody here, if you got Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, put your hand up. If you have any social media, put your hand up. If you see a positive story, repost it.
You see, that's what you guys post that too, like
But really, we can generate and change the algorithm within our community because we are all coming from Metro Atlanta. If we start to reshare, repurpose those stories, those narratives, then we can be part of that change. So it might sound a little bit cliche, but it's real. It's real. How you stop sharing somebody getting shot or somebody getting go kicked in. Like start sharing the good stories and make that the narrative. We're gonna roll on to the next question, and you kind of did a segue already because you mentioned it. You see something, say something. What does that really mean, as opposed to what we all call snitching, right? So let's talk about those two concepts and what it means, because sometimes, in my opinion, we take it as a negative thing. See something, say something, but it's really positive. Because as much as we can see something, say something on something negative, we can do the same thing to something that's happening that's positive in the community. So let's talk about that, maybe some concepts of that, and what does that really mean? But I do want to ask someone from law enforcement or former law enforcement, what does see something, say something mean, and how does it affect law enforcement? Oh, you double dutch it. You double dutch. Come on.
I'll start on it. So the concept, see something, say something, is when you see something unusual that you think need to be elevated to law enforcement to intervene, so that if the general masses can stay safe, that's what you do.
Yeah.
We've gotten to a place, being that you're talking about social media, one of the things I see in social media is so disturbing is in almost every incident that you see, everybody's recording the incident, nobody's intervening to calm it down. Everybody wants to get those likes. What we have to do as a community is, folks, I hold no punches. What we are seeing is in our community. These are our issues. We have to make hard decisions. We have to be aggressive in making this change. It's not going to be easy. As it's been stated, we've done some of the same thing continuously. We are losing our generations of people every single day. When we lost 159 lives last year, there was somebody on the opposite side, and folks, I want it to be clear. We lock you up in Atlanta when you kill somebody. We get most of the people who pull those triggers. So now we take that person off of the board. That means we've disrupted 2 generations of lives for an incident, and if it was more, we're getting more people. If we don't make changes right now, 20 years from now, this room will look different. And because it could be any of our kids. You are more at risk in our community. All this other than, I don't like to get into the separation thing, but the reality is, the risk is in this community. The risk is here. We are the ones that should be raising hell, talking about what we need to be doing. That's what really should be happening. And that's the problem. I don't think we're raising our voices enough to say enough is enough. When you know this joker back the next door is bad. You know that he's been walking in and out of that house with a gun. Give us a call. We'll come see about it. We will. We can't do it all right away, but give us the heads up. When, folks, people think that marijuana is not a problem. I know it's a social drug and everybody's using it now. It's the second reason that we're starting to see homicide. People going to buy marijuana, and somebody decides, I'm going to rob you, and I'm going to shoot you at the same time. But it's happening mostly in our community. We got to make some hard decisions and be aggressive in seeing something and saying something.
To piggyback off what you're saying, is basically with the whole see something, say something, we're allowing a cancer. We found out, any one of us found out we had cancer or any type of disease today. Tomorrow we'll be at the doctor trying to figure out a cure. In our communities, I work gangs, everybody know that. Most people know who's doing what, but we're taught at an early age, that ain't my business. Leave it on, that don't bother me. And then until it affects you, we are in a selfish stage where we worry about ourselves. Me. We got away from us. When you was talking about some of those programs back in the day, they taught us. And that's what we got to get back to. It's not a me problem, it's not a you problem, it's us. We have to begin to care about each other enough to say, not in my community. When we go to some of our suburban communities, they not having it. They gonna tell you. They gonna get that joke up out of there. For me as a detective, it's not what I know, it's what I can prove in the court of law. I can know who did what, but if I don't get help to help me get to where I need to go to prosecute a case, you're gonna see that joke again. He's not rehabilitating, he's gonna victimize somebody else. So it takes all of us, it's not just a police issue.
One of the, and you kind of crossing over to a good point I was saying, you make it talk about community policing. As part of this brother brought up too, community policing is a key factor when it comes to crime. Because like you said, we know Johnny bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, he been knocking over trash cans since he was 4. Like, we know what's going on. But at some point, as a community, you got to be like, all right, look, it may turn bad to a point where a 6-month-old gets shot. And we don't want to have those conversations, stories that run rampant within our community. So it's a difference between if you are doing crime and then you tell on somebody else doing crime, that's snitching. But see something, say something, you're trying to maintain the integrity of your community. And I think that that's what we all really need to strive for. So it's not telling, it's keeping things safe based on what's going on.
You know what I mean? Now, if you're doing something wrong, you keep your mouth shut. Unless you tell it on yourself. Right?
Well, most of the time on Instagram.
Man, it shows you how easy. So, anybody else want to chime in on that? If I do have a police story, everybody go ahead.
I have a quick question.
Ladies first.
I keep going back to hearing, bring in more cops, bring in more this, where is, like, at what point in time do you have parent accountability? What point in time do you say, you know, if your 6-year-old is out doing X, Y, Z, not only is he gonna get in trouble, but you're gonna get fined, because that's your 6-year-old. It's like, we can only have so many cops, and my mom being the director, deputy, APD, me and her get to have a lot of conversations about this, and I keep going back to what you guys show is still limited. Oh, we're not gonna show that the guy that robbed the car that got burnt up. Well, why are we not putting fear into the person who's robbing the car that got burnt up? We put in the people that have the car. Make sure you keep your guns away. Make sure you keep your door locked. All the civilians need to be paranoid of these criminals, but the criminals don't get the same. What is the fear? If it's not coming from home, because your parents are gonna get in trouble, it's not coming from the cops, because unless you get caught, nobody's saying nothing, and they bigging you up in the community, because, I saw you rob the boy's car. That's a good look. The girl liked you because you had so many people on Instagram. You showed the guns and the money. So I'm asking, like, where is the parent accountability? What happens at home first, being accountable for the action that they take?
Can I ask you a question? Not ask you a question. We can't tell a parent what to do. We have to have that conversation with every parent we know create awareness within the community, because we can't solve that problem through the police. Like parents, because if my kids are bad, I need to correct my kids.
Right.
You know
That's
what
my
I'm saying?
point.
So I get exactly what you're saying. We need to do a better job from the community standpoint. I got a young lady that's important right here. I got it. If you have questions, go ahead. Yeah.
So first of all, I appreciate this endeavor, the Clippers and Cops initiative, and Talina for inviting me. My name is Daniel Dickey. I'm an award-winning brand strategist, and I also oversee a program called Brigham Brothers Anonymous that we do in conjunction with the Barack Obama Foundation and the My Brother's Keeper Alliance. And I also do that same work with Hosea Feed the Hungry. And so for me, I think that any solutions that we come with to an impoverished community have to be very holistic. It can't be one thing or another, because food insecurity has something to do with the robberies and all of those different things. And so one of the things that I just kind of thought of as I'm kind of listening to a lot of the things going on is, I think that a cool thing to happen and see in the city would be the police precinct pop-ups, and that pop-up being something that has something to do with making sure that we're dealing with the food insecurity with nonprofits that can help with that. The de-escalation and showing, even some of the self-defense things that can happen in conjunction with the de-escalation, but to really show the police force in a space where we're a community partner in the ways that the police should be, and in a way that is solving the problems that we're facing in those communities that sometimes push children and push people into making those decisions that put them in the crosshairs of the police adversely.
The reality is we do many of those things,
Mm-hmm.
but our bandwidth is so wide. To be honest with you, our community policing, we put them out. We have to deal with homelessness. We have to go out and knock on doors. We have to take some aspect of them have to go and hang out in certain communities to address those very same issues that you're speaking of. We run a PAL program, so we do many of those things.
Mm-hmm.
But again, our bandwidth is so wide. And so the demand on us is to do more. And I submit to going back to what the mayor stated, is that we need help. You get that help through nonprofit. You get that help through the community. You get that help by telling parents, you need to be more accountable. But as it's been stated, one of the things that I wish they would stop doing is calling the police so we can tell your kid to go to school. You get that call. That's a police call. My child won't go to school. That's not, but we have to respond to that. We got to have more accountability for our parents.
All right, we can take 2 more questions. I got this guy had this sister right here first.
Okay, what if see something, say something is inside the prison?
We get it there too.
It didn't get too far. My son was shot over several times from an incident that came from someone in prison. who continue to keep getting guns over and over again to do several crimes
So
in prison.
Orchestrated.
Not a gun, we saying, you know, he orchestrated from prison. It's just like he got a gun in his hand because he continued where he said go.
well,
First and foremost, I already lost.
absolutely.
He's not lost, he's paralyzed from waist down, being shot over 12 times, having a major stroke. So I'm trying to get an organization started, Mother Against Warfare. Because like I said, I work in the school system and it starts in the school system. For the kids being bullied. It's just not our single parents. Sometimes I have 3 kids. I did an awesome job with my kids, by myself and God. So you know, the thing is, like this, the barber shop, sometimes kids look for a second parent. You guys can cut a little boy hair and tell him which way to go. It's just not.
And that's why we as Clippers and Cops started that platform, because a lot of the stuff like Ty talks about before starts in the barbershop. We discuss a lot of things. The black men discuss a lot of things. Now, what we did find out, a lot of women come to the barbershop now, bringing their kids. So we changed the dialogue because that's what we want to do, is be able to bring the opportunity to come here and maybe divert what you're talking about that's happening in the community. Because everybody comes to the barbershop. One way or another, you're going to come, unless you ain't got no hell like me. But you got to get it. But eventually, if you got a goatee or something, you're going to come in here. And you're going to express it if you got kids. So that's what we want. When you bring your kids to the barbershop, that is one way that they can get the lessons and learn things, because you got men in here. Okay? And we don't allow that stuff to happen. Because when young bloods come in here, them old cats say, no, you ain't going to do that up in here. You're going to take that out there. But before you go out there, they're going to correct them in here. So, you ain't going to carry that mess around my barbershop. You take that elsewhere. So that's what we want to do, like in your community. You got to look at your community like it's your own. That drug dealer can't be on your street selling drugs unless you allow it to take it. You know, take pictures, video it, call us. Hey, we got intelligent units that will come out and do things in your community that all you got to do is just say, give us the word. But people don't want to do that because they're like, that's what we talk about, the snitching. No, this is your community. And in order for you to take back your community, because I'm going to tell you, in some communities, they call the police, or they'll videotape, or they'll do what they need to do. They'll start organization in their community because they got the power of the people. And that's who you are, the people.
Lisa, let me just say one thing, man. The other side to this is making sure that we constantly highlight the opportunity, the carrots and the sticks. Because we talk about how to lock somebody up, but you also have to say, hey, here's the alternative. The alternative is we got some training for you, we got a good job for you, we got a mentorship, apprenticeship, internship. You know, everything doesn't have to be these large-scale, huge initiatives. Everybody that called my office is, man, if you give me $1 million, man, I'll train 1,000 kids to do whatever. I'm like, when you go down your street, get one joker off the street. Get 1 or 2, huddle them up, be big brothers to them, be uncle to them, and you nurture them till they get to Atlanta Technical College. And then from Atlanta Technical College, they learn how to fix aircraft in a year, or do mechanics or whatever. I mean, a lot of people come to us with these huge, grand ideas, and I'm like, well, what you got? Oh, I ain't got nothing. I just know, man, if you give me $1 million, I'll train all them jokers in the spots. I'm like, oh, it don't work like that. I ain't got no checkbook under my desk that's just like $1 million for you, you know.
Talk about actions and opportunities.
Actions and opportunities.
This is how this started. This started from an idea from Ty and then growing to what we have now. We got cabinets, we got the men. We have all types of people of influence in here as well as the community. And this all started from, let's hit a barber shop with a couple of cops and talk to some people. Hey, Reese, pull up on me. I'm coming. Because that's what it is. It's about action. You saw what we were doing in the community even before that. You know what I mean? So it's just about do something first. Make it whole. And get it people.
Start with your neighborhood, start with your community, and that helps everybody. That gets to that million.
Right.
At the end of the day, you can't just expect one person, to do anything. The one thing that we learned from doing this is there's a lot of people with a lot of good programs, and we're not working together. Yeah. We got to work together and partner with different people to put our resources together to make this work. It's not just one entity that can change all of it.
Speaking of people who create change, Saints creative.
I just want to harp on something. We were talking about community development, and we're talking about parenting. And my dad's a therapist, so I work in the space of mental health a lot. And I encourage all parents to get into the emotional intelligence of social emotional learning. It's just not putting that implemented in schools, but it's not into our culture that much. And it talks about self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, responsible decision-making, and and it's something that kids can learn from the age of 4 to 18 years old that can change the mindset that they have. Social awareness about empathy and the perspective of other people. And so a lot of times when we talk about the emotional intelligence of our kids, we are talking about how they feel. We go through so many things, so sporadic and raging moments, but we never talk about how to control your emotions at a very young age. And a lot of times they're filled with rage and they're told, especially as black men, we're told to shut the hell up, be a man. But we're not open to feeling and understanding what we're feeling. And so I think a lot of parents, especially in the black community, should really, really divest into social emotional learning. It's so much information out there about it. I've divested into it. I have a presentation. I talk to DeKalb County schools about it weekly, and I teach parents and teachers how to involve their kids into the curriculum of talking about their emotions and just being able to deal with things. A lot of times we're shunned out and don't have the ability to really speak and feel and grow through the things that we're going through because we don't have an outlet. So I think to engage the emotions of a child at a very, very, where they can articulate how they think and how they feel, instead of just telling them what you want a lot of times, will definitely help. But, you know, I told you, all nice and fellas. But as far as the policing aspect of it, I think a lot of times when you look at the overall stance of community policing, you have to be able to take a look at safer communities. And safer communities are not over-policed. Because they have opportunities, right? And so like you said, all the opportunities are there, but a lot of times we don't have the outlets to give us those opportunities. Right. For instance, yesterday, I have a friend that works for Atlanta Public Safety, being along you guys regularly, and they had a Zoom call that can tell people how to get off felony probation. I put that out there on my social media, had over 10,000 views. Over 100 brothers that didn't know anything about it got an opportunity to get off of felony probation yesterday because of that program. So the city does have great programs, but they don't have great resources to get to the people. People who need the help or people who have the status of being able to help aren't connected with people that need the help the most.
So like we said earlier, we need to. I feel you on the business. I felt like I shouldn't have got a whooping a lot of times on this, but no. But honestly, that's another thing. We all need to stay interconnected and stay sharing this information and make sure y'all connect with Scotty too. We have to move into the next segment because of time constraints. Make sure you remember your question if you have one or a statement if you have one. So our next segment, we want to talk about something that's near and dear to the African American community, which is traffic stops. We've all been through it. So,
Is it
Near? It's near. It ain't near.
because I know we've had these conversations plenty of times, and I know some of our officers, including her, have been pulled over, even though that you're a cop, and you still feel nervous based on what we see and what we know sometimes to be true. So we want to talk about some things about traffic stops, how to handle those, how to de-escalate some of the myths that we can get past, right? And some cops, they just butt heads. I ain't gonna front. Some of them, you know, you just got to deal with that. But it's certain things you can do to try to protect yourself. And there's a product out there that you may not have heard about that I actually use with my daughters to keep them as safe as possible if so happen they get pulled over.
Absolutely.
So without further ado, we're going to talk about traffic stops. Anybody got a story? I know I do. But no, really, I want to talk about this product because one thing we've seen across social media is people getting shot at traffic stops, and the excuse is, I didn't know what they were doing with their hands. I couldn't see their hands. I thought they were reaching for something. A cell phone in the eye of a nervous officer sometimes turns into a pistol. You know what I'm saying? Anything can happen. So this brother right here, let him introduce himself and talk about the pocket. Is something that I think every teenage driver or a person of a certain youth should have in their car, especially melanated. People of a melanated flavor should have in their car. Because we've seen things happen to us, or certain attitudes happen to us when we do get pulled over. That's the reality of it. So,
I appreciate you guys. So, my name is Bryant. I'm from Houston. I flew out here to be with Clippers and Cops for this great moment. So, this is the Pocket USA.
I created this product so my son would not become a victim of police brutality. So this product is, you will have your license and insurance in this product. So if you do get pulled over, all you do is roll your window down and attach it to the outside of your vehicle. So when a police officer walk up, they will see both hands visible on the wheel, and you as a driver can feel a whole lot safer knowing you don't have to move or reach for anything when actually reach for your license and insurance.
Simple as that.
So this product right here just controls the situation. Protected your inner peace, kept negativity out of your vehicle, and helped with social distance. I'm just trying to make sure the way that we enter traffic stops is the way we need to start leaving traffic stops. And this product is only $19.99, and it's the pocket. USA.com is the website. Just like he was saying, if you have young adults, teenagers, you do not want them going back and forth with a police officer on the scene. We're not going to win that battle. We've seen that. So the object is to survive the encounter and get back home to your family. So I want to appreciate you guys. It's the Pocket USA. Check it out. Do your research. I use this product. If you go on any one of my social media links, you will see the demeanor of a police officer change in an instant, knowing that you don't have to move or react to the situation.
Can I break down on that? Sometimes wait, and I'll come to you right next. I'll come to you next. You can put your hand on. I got you. I'm
Right, you okay?
Yeah, you, I got you. All right, I will say this about traffic stops and dealing with police interaction. Reality versus perception. All right, reality is you may have the right to say, hey, you don't need my license, you don't need this, you don't need that. You have the right to have whatever attitude you have when they pull up. You might be having a bad day. You have the right to have an attitude with the officer, right? But you also have to understand reality of that situation. If I'm belligerent, I will make cause more belligerent. Like if I walk up to you and I'm acting angry, like acting hostile, what are you gonna do as a person? Return it, right? You're gonna return that energy. So I like to do is put on positive energy when I get pulled over. I get pulled over a lot, I ain't gonna lie. So I like to just put on positive energy, and I walked away from every single traffic stop I've been through. You know what I'm saying? And that's just some things we don't always tell our kids. It's like, we don't really tell them about real life situations. Because if I get into it with somebody, and we're about to fight, and I start going like this, automatically what you gonna think? I'm reaching for something, even if I'm not. So just try to inform your kids and yourself and maintain common sense during traffic stops too. Keep your hands where they can see them. Most times you guys don't know what's going on. So if you got your hands up, you may not think you should have to do that, but I'm telling you, it's safe. I'm just put it like that.
Hold on for a minute. The mayor's getting ready to go. If he want to party words before we go.
First and foremost, I love Clippers and Cops. I've been here 2-3 times, probably like 3 or 4 times now, coming in here.
Say it again, man, you love us, right?
I love Clippers and Cops. Man, I remember when Ty was in the gang unit, APD, 2015, 2016, he came to me talking about the needs that they had, took me up to show me all the pictures, all the issues that they were dealing with, and the challenges. And I found that to be a good brother, even though he don't listen to me, back here talking and hanging out. This is vital. This and other conversations like this. You ain't, the goal right now, you ain't gotta own all of Atlanta. You just need to help your block, help your community, do what you can. That's the goal right now. And I often talk about I draw circles, I don't draw lines. That's important to communicate to these youth because they taking a lot of things to the finality of a situation. Cancel culture is real. We ain't never messing with them again. They done. We on the other side of that. That's it. That's the end to it. Beat results in gunplay. And so we have to be able to look and say, I remember growing up, I grew up in Adamsville. You know how many fights I had growing up? I mean, I know it don't look like it now, but this, hey. That ain't what I used to be, right? And I ain't talking about foolishness. I'm talking about just growing up in the community in the 70s and 80s. And so I think that we have to employ those tactics that we used when we were younger to live to see another day. Get your aggressions out differently than they're doing right now, and to de-escalate situations. Tonight, everybody should post something positive about this experience with Clippers and Cops. post something positive about your interaction with APD and the community. Post your positive. Post something positive. Because when you go on Instagram, when you go on Facebook, when you go on social media, everybody trying to take somebody out. Trying to take them out. Look, I'm in a room right now with two people that I admire and work with and competed with to become mayor. We got Council President Felicia Moore here. Give her a round of applause. She's been the Clippers and Cops a lot of times. She's been the Clippers and Cops a lot of times. She's invested in this organization, invested in this community. And Brother Richard Wright right here. Give him a round of applause. We gotta look at each other as a part of the whole community and not somebody that's separate or divided. And so if we can get this framework out, it looks like we all agree. It looks like we all appreciate one another. If we pass this on to the next person, when somebody throw a drink at you or look at your lady crazy at Local Luna, you don't walk out the door looking for what's up, going to the trunk. When something happened to you at the Flame, at Blue Flame, you don't come out and try to, light the place up. That's what's happening right now. Folks can't just say, I'm cool, I'll live to see another day. And then on the youth side, go to atlstrong.org/YMOC, Young Men of Color. Sign your organization up. We got grants about to come. We got organizational opportunities. And we're going to make sure that we build a community around young men of color, because 60% of the crime that was committed in 2021, 60% happened by people between the ages of 13 and 25. That ain't just their problem, that's a societal problem. How did they get to be this age where they chose to do some of those things? We got to reverse that, give them some other opportunities. I've been mayor for 24 days, and I want to do a whole lot. I want to do a whole lot to solve these problems, man. I'll be back early and often in Clippers and Cops. And anybody that's doing anything good by these youth and by these opportunities, the chief and I stand ready to come support, and so does the Atlanta Police Department. Thank y'all so much.
Hey, what's up, man? All right. Yes, sir. All right, sir.
All right, we're going to jump back into traffic stops. Huh? We got food over there. I see my boy Euro over there. What's up, Euro? Good music right there. Reese, what's up, bro? I see you. All right. All right, we got food over there. We about to get back into traffic stop in a second. Not time to eat yet, though.
Good to see you guys. I love it. I was just saying, when I walked in, I saw your picture. Thank you, man. That's how you doing. See you.
You know the guy that with the blue hat. You know if you want to go ahead and finish this?
Yeah, I will.